Hi, everyone. Stephanie Gillison here with Gillison Global, brokered by eXp. I am with our partners, Matt Wilson and Sam Griffin, with our Capital Connect arm. They specialize in restaurant franchise sales. So, guys, I want to find out today, what does it take to invest in a restaurant franchise?
Great question. So when you're looking to invest into a restaurant franchise system, one of the first things you're going to need is what we call liquidity or net worth requirements. Typically, restaurants can be anywhere between $250,000 all the way up to $2 million on a minimum to invest into a restaurant franchise space. Another thing you will need is at least a minimum of 5 years operational experience. Typically, restaurant franchisees like to see multi-unit experience in the restaurant space too as well. And then another thing you will need too as well is that you're going to have what's called working capital. So whenever you invest into a franchise, one of the things you got to be wary of and look at is that when you buy the franchisor or the business that you're buying might require what's called a re-image or a remodel to the system. A lot of times franchisees will do what's called refresh or rebranding, and it's really typical in the restaurant franchise space. So when you're looking into it, you want to make sure you have working capital within the franchisee or franchise system you're buying. Also, when you're buying a franchise, it depends on whether you're buying an existing franchise or if you're going to be building new franchise within that system. And when we move out new franchises, we call them greenfields, where you go out and find new spaces and you build them from the bottom up. Or sometimes you can take what's called a second generation building and remodel that building into your new restaurant. Either way you do it, each franchisor is going to be a little bit different. But before you do it, you want to make sure you have those minimum liquidity requirements and operational requirements before stepping into the restaurant space.
Yeah. And one comment that I'd make around that, these aren't, random criteria that franchisors have, just come up with as potential barriers to entry for a specific brand. A lot of this stuff is done, based on decades of market research, franchisees that have joined the system that have been successful. What has their resources looked like from an operation, from a financial resource standpoint. And because franchisors, their ultimate goal is not ultimate, but more often than not is to grow their stores the right way. And so, you need to do that by joining, whether it's one store or buying 5 stores and then having an obligation to double your store count in X amount of years. You can't do that unless you have experience or the financial resources to do that. And so that's a big reason why they have those things in place too.
So let me ask you all something, because this is all extremely informative information. But, let's say I have the liquidity. I'm ready to leave my corporate job. I'm ready to be that entrepreneur, that business owner, and scale. But I have absolutely no restaurant experience. How do I get in?
So I'll take that. So there are times when you buy existing franchisees that might want to sell their system, there are times and occasions where you can bring in what's called an operating partner into the system. Typically, it's going to require around a 10% equity, anywhere between plus or minus in that. But if you've got an operating managing partner that can run the operations, typically a franchisor will approve you to get into the system. So let's say we've done this numerous times where we've had folks come in that have, like you said, they come into some money and they want to invest into the restaurant space, but don't have the restaurant experience. You look for the turnkey opportunities. Those typically have what's called above store leadership that can come with the acquisition of existing franchises that you can bring onto your partnership level. Now, with that being said, franchisors will require you to go through the training process of their systems once you acquire, into these franchisees. And that's typical in all restaurant franchisors.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you all for this information today. Make sure you subscribe. And if you are interested in investing in a restaurant franchise, make sure to reach out to Gillison Global and our Capital Connect partners here. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.